Hello friends, I hope you are doing well wherever you are. This is a small correction to alternating current on page 273. I realized I made a small mistake. I'm human like you, so I am bound to make any mistake. It is a question of a graph which I think I didn't look at the details very well when I was sketching the graph, so I just decided to come back in another short video to correct it. I realized this when I was discussing with my students, and I realized that we wrongly considered the graph, or I wrongly considered the graph for an output, yet it was input. So let me take you directly to the question. So this was the question. It is on page 273 of your document. It was of a bridge rectifier. So this was the graph. The graph was for input. This was a graph for input. And the other parts of the question had no problem. The problem was on part C, especially Roman 2. For part C, Roman 1, we drew the symbol very well for a capacitor. We drew here the symbol for a capacitor very well, which is in pair with the load. And now we want to look at the graph. The minimum PD across the load. Remember, the PD across the load is after rectification, yet the graph which was given was for input, and yet we were supposed to draw on the same graph the variation with the time t of the potential difference across the load. Across the load, it is after actually rectification, and since it is full wave rectification, the output is we are supposed to have peaks on every half cycle. In fact, the output is supposed to have peaks like this on every half cycle. There should be an output. Yet the graph we are going to draw on is showing an input. So we are going to draw the load. Remember, the PD should not fall below 3 volts, 3.0 volts. So we come back here. Before smoothing the graph for rectifying, the graph for rectified voltage would be actually like this. So let me look for the peak is here. If there was no smoothing, the graph for rectified voltage on the same graph would look like this. So this is here. The graph for rectified voltage would look like that if there was no smoothing. The other negative half cycles are also inverted, so you would have something like that. You have a curve here, and so on and so forth. So these negative half cycles are going to be inverted. But now that there is smoothing, so we have now to change to draw the smoothing part, So I would remember the PD should fall up to 3 volts, should not go beyond 3. So this is, I think 3 is in the center here. So the PD should not fall below this point here on smoothing. Because of smoothing, the PD should not go below 3 volts. So I'm going to draw smoothing values or smoothing so that the PD does not fall below 3 volts. So this is what I'm going to do. I will change the color. So for smoothing, I will draw a line showing discharging of the capacitor from the peak. So I will draw a line up to 3 volts. That is inside. I need a line which is outside. It is just on the peak. I can first draw some kind of curve. And then it goes to 3 volts. Why is this very hard for me? It is not easy to draw on a computer, but I'm trying. Okay, so that is for smoothing. So this other half cycle, there will be a voltage. Remember, the line is to stop at 3. So this is charging of the capacitor. This side is charging. and the other side will be discharging. So I will draw some kind of line up to 3. On the left, there is a curve for charging process. On the right, there is discharge. I will just draw some kind of line to show discharge. Instead of the voltage falling to 0, it is going to be discharged. The capacitor is going to be discharging and maintain the voltage to a high value not less than 3 volts. So this is what I wanted to do. Okay, so the correct graph would look like that. If I remove these peaks because they are not necessary, if I remove those other peaks, you notice that the correct graph is supposed to look like this. That is how the correct graph would look like. So thanks to my students, they were able to see this, that there was a challenge there because the graph on which we were supposed to sketch was not for rectified, it was for input voltage. So that is supposed to be the correct graph, and I hope you correct it, and sorry for that small mistake. May God be with you.